Hello and welcome to episode 92 of This Week in Germany. We'll be bringing the world to Germany and Germany to the world with news for the week beginning the 5th of October 2015. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Rob. Each week we feature stories from the news, society, and culture in the English language. If you want to find out more, including ways to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, head over to our website, thisweekingermany.de.
And it's time for episode 92. So, Rob, we're going to talk about a lot of things this week, of course, as we do every week. Now, let's go through a few of the stories that we're going to talk about this week. So what have you got for us?
Well, some of the news and briefs I'm going to tell you about is Merkel met with Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, talking about about hate speech online and what can be done about it. Also, the defense minister is finding herself in hot water because she's being accused of plagiarism. The Pegida head is he's being charged now with hate speech against refugees. So that's something that's now coming to light. It's never really happened, but it seems like it's happening now. There is a lawsuit that's going on which Bild, one of the biggest newspapers. Is it the biggest newspaper in Germany?
Yes, it is.
They've lost a huge lawsuit to a former weatherman of theirs. I'm going to tell you about that. And also, because Oktoberfest is now officially over.
I should say it wasn't a weatherman of theirs. It was a weatherman of from TV.
Okay, not Bild's weatherman, but a public figure.
Right.
Yes. And now that Oktoberfest is officially over again for 2015, then I'm going to give you one last Oktoberfest story about the German government paying foreign spies, spies to come and attend Oktoberfest in Germany.
Wow, paying spies from abroad to come and attend Oktoberfest.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Pretty weird, though.
I know.
Yes, and you also have an amazing destination, Germany, this week, Rob.
Yes, we're going to a place that I personally love, that I have been to many times. It's right on the edge of Leipzig. It's the Kostputner See, or it's the major lake in Leipzig, and it's just an amazing place. So I am excited to tell you about that. Also, for the German of the Week is pretty cool as well. It is not going to be a German. It's going to be the ambassador in Germany for the UK, and he is going to be saying why people from England and Great Britain should be coming over to us. More people should be coming to Germany, and just how great Germany is.
Yeah, and I can testify to that. It is well worth coming over to visit Germany. So yeah, maybe Rob, you could ask me why I sound so tired this week.
Daniel, why do you sound so tired this week?
Because I was celebrating German unity.
Well, you sound a little down about it, though.
I know, because you got to party hard on these kinds of things, and I think I overdid it a little bit much. So if I sound like I'm falling asleep, it's because I'm falling asleep because I drank way too much last night. Saturday saw the 25th anniversary of German unity. On the 3rd of October 1990, that was when East and West Germany officially merged to create one single federal republic of Germany. It was also the time East and West Berlin became one undivided city once again. And this is where, at that time, in 1990, where the focus of the celebrations was. Outside the Bundestag, Chancellor Helmut Kohl and the President Richard von Weizsäcker held speeches, and a special unity flag was raised outside the parliament, and an audience of thousands celebrated with fireworks. So it was a fantastic occasion. Also, very symbolic after Germany had been divided since the Second World War occupation, the Allies occupying the country after the Second World War. And so finally, Germany was together once again, and a very emotional moment.
Hey, could you give us a little bit of background about why the initial split, why Germany split into two different countries, why that took place, and pretty much what happened?
Yeah, well, in the split in the beginning came about because in 1945 the Nazis were defeated, and the Soviets on the east side occupied the east of Germany, And on the west side of the country, that's where France, Britain, and America occupied Germany. And they shared the task of administrating the country. And Berlin, separately, was split into East and West Berlin, and West was also administrated by those three Allied powers, and the East was by the Soviets. And then in 1961, I believe, the Berlin Wall was built, and a physical barrier was erected between East and West Germany. And so that kind of much more formalized this divide between the two countries. And of course, the East was communist, and it had a very different system and very different lifestyle, very different culture, very controlled culture than in the West, which was very open and capitalistic and so on. And then on the 28th of November 1989, 2 weeks after the Berlin Wall fell down, and if you want to find out all about the Berlin Wall, you should go back into our archives and listen to our Berlin Wall special. It's really great. But yeah, 2 weeks after the Berlin Wall fell down, Helmut Kohl, who's the Chancellor of West Germany, announced a 10-point plan which would bring these two Germanys together, or at least expand their cooperation and end up with reunification. And though there was no exact timetable proposed, suddenly, in the beginning of 1990, only a few months later, the former Socialist Party, the Socialist Party which was in power in East Germany, were defeated in East Germany's first free elections. Now suddenly this kind of gave the new people leading in the East a incentive to say, well, hey, people are rejecting the old system. Let's bring in the new system. Let's bring in a united Germany. That was kind of the chance that they had to do that. And so they set about doing it. And on the 18th of May 1990, there was an economic merger to merge the monetary systems. And then they ended up with a constitutional merger later on. Basically, a contract was signed between the governments of the two sides, which formally brought the two together. And then it was on midnight on the 3rd of October, 1990, where this treaty took effect officially. And then the two sides of Germany were officially reunited once more.
Was there any sort of like singular event, or was it more of a process that was able to allow Germany to merge back together again into one country? And was everyone happy with the result of what happened?
So I think the big driving force between reunification was that election result, where Lothar de Maizière from the CDU party essentially kicked out the old regime. And yes, that was as part of a what they called an alliance for Germany, so to speak. So from the beginning, they were kind of really motivated towards getting Germany back together to use this chance. So yeah, and then a lot of people were happy that the two Germanys came together. It was a very symbolic victory, but people in the West were worried that people from the East would start taking the lower paid jobs, or that they would, otherwise flood the western side with the Eastern culture or something like that, and
like drag the economy down and things like that.
Yeah, but the key thing was that the East's economy was doing really badly. Certainly it was a lot worse off than the West. And the people in the West knew that there would have to be some kind of rebalancing in order to assist the East to get back on its feet. And that was going to be very expensive. And in the end, billions and billions of taxpayers' money was spent on trying to enhance the economy of the East. What happened was that there were lots of East German companies, state-owned companies, which simply couldn't compete with Western companies. Their products were more expensive. Their production processes were were very inefficient. And so people just lost their jobs. These companies just shut down. And yeah, that had a really big impact on people in the East. and they had to adapt to a completely new way of living. Suddenly there was widespread unemployment. And so it wasn't all roses, the reuniting of Germany, but symbolically people were happy with it, but then they soon found out the harsh reality of the two sides of the country coming together.
Okay, back to the holiday that we just experienced here. What were there any different cities doing different things, like something special to celebrate the reunification?
Well, I would be a bit disappointed if they didn't celebrate it in some way. And outside the Bundestag, there was a festival of unity in which they had lots of. They had famous bands there and everything like that, and people coming together and talking about unity and speeches from politicians and things like that. But yeah, there was a lot of people who turned out. Thousands of people turned out to watch this concert, and that was kind of the focus of the celebrations. Of course, cities all over Germany celebrated in their own ways, especially ones which were in the east or close to the borders on the east, who were most impacted by this change. But there was celebrations across Germany.
It seems like that this holiday is one of the bigger holidays that is in Germany, and is completely all over the country. Is it just like right now? Is it just another reason to have a party? Be like, hey, this happened a long time ago, or is it like a platform people are using for future developments of Germany?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is kind of just a party, just to have fun. But of course, people are still looking. It's a chance to reflect, and people are still looking at the differences between the West and the East. And there are still big differences between the West and the East. Unemployment there in the East has been consistently higher than in the West. Germans in the East earn less than their Western compatriots, and the assets that they own, like their houses or whatever they might own, are worth less than they are in the West. And much has changed, and that's thanks to that solidarity tax that I mentioned earlier, where there's been a lot of investment in that part of the country, but so far it's not been enough. There's still a large gap. There is no kind of equality between the East and the West. So Germany is united, but yet somehow still separate.
And now for this week's News in Brief. German Chancellor Angela Merkel recently met face-to-face with the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. They spoke about what the social media platform could do to fight racial and other illegal comments posted on the site. Facebook has been in the news quite a lot in Germany for the way that it deletes, or maybe rather the way that it doesn't delete, many of the hateful comments posted on their network. This issue has only been increased since the number of refugees has been arriving in the country. Zuckerberg admitted to Merkel that Facebook does need to work on this problem. Some possible solutions were mentioned, such as deploying faster procedures to have illegal comments removed. The Facebook founder agreed and said that they would set up a work group to get a better idea of how to find a resolution. For the second time, a German defense minister is being held in the spotlight for a possible charge of plagiarism in their doctoral thesis. The first defense minister accused was Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg, who later resigned from his post in 2011. Now, the current defense minister, Ursula von der Leyen, has allegations against her that also say that she committed plagiarism in her doctoral dissertation that she wrote 25 years ago. This comes at a bad time for the minister, who some think may be a successor to Angela Merkel's chancellorship. Von der Leyen is denying these accusations, who say internet activists are only trying to spread doubts about politicians. The work in question is now being reviewed by an independent panel of experts. Lutz Bachmann, the man who founded the group Pegida, which stands for Patriotic Europeans Against the Islamization of the West, finds himself in trouble as he is being charged by the state prosecutors in Dresden. His crime? Incitement to racial hatred. We just spoke on the social networking company, Facebook, needing to be more proactive in regulating hate speech in Germany on their site. And that is what has landed Bachmann in hot water. From his posting on Facebook in 2014, he called foreigners livestock, junk, and scum. He is now also being investigated for more recent public postings as well. It will be up to the criminal court in the city of Dresden to decide if these are legal charges and if a full trial will be held. In 2010 and 2011, former TV moderator and weatherman Jörg Kachelmann was on trial for threatening and the rape of his ex-girlfriend. It was a major media circus in Germany for such charges against a public figure, and many news outlets like Bild cover the story. Bild and other media groups may have gone too far into the privacy of Mr. Kachelmann, and his lawyer described it as the worst smear campaign in the history of German press. Kachelmann was acquitted of his crimes in 2011, and he then began to sue some of the media groups for defamation of his character. This past week, a court in Cologne ruled that the newspaper, Bild, must pay Kachelmann over $700,000 for his pain and suffering. This was the highest compensation given for this type of case, and some hope that it will discourage tabloid press in the future from this type of action. Oktoberfest 2015 is over, but the fact that taxpayers of Germany are footing the bill for foreign spies to come over and party in Munich still has some people thinking of the country's iconic celebration. The Taxpayers Association has shown that the BND, Germany's intelligence agency, has brought foreign colleagues to hang out at the beer drinkers' dream vacation spot, and they're paying for it with public funds. This has quite a few people upset, as they believe it is a blatant waste of money and could be used for something more worthwhile for the public. And coming up right now is Destination Germany, where we take you on a journey somewhere in the country that we think is well worth a visit. Whether you're a tourist or a permanent resident, a foreigner or a German citizen, we'll be covering all those famous sites that everyone knows, as well as those little-known corners of Deutschland. All that matters is showing you that Germany is a super interesting and exciting place to visit. And if you enjoy the destinations that we talk about each week, make sure you go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have photos of each week's destination.
That is right, Rob. In our last episode, we went way up to the north of Germany, to the state of Schleswig-Holstein, Germany's easiest to pronounce place name. We haven't really talked about this area very much on the podcast, but there is a lot up there. So one of the cool destinations which you can go and see is the castle in the Plön area. It has such a cool history because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so like a forested area overlooking at the Great Plön Lake. And it had no kind of wartime damage in the First or Second World War, so it's completely intact. And while it might not be the most exotic of castles in Germany, we think it's definitely worth a visit if you're going to be traveling up north in the country. So, okay, I thought the castle seemed really cool, with it being, kept in its original regal state for so long. But what I really thought sounded interesting was the area around the castle, the little town under it, and the huge lakes in the surrounding area.
Yeah, I kind of came to the same conclusion. I'd never been to the northern state of Schleswig-Holstein. Did I get it close? Was I close? Okay, good.
Why not?
And what I really thought was neat, what really caught my eye was the lake that the castle was on. So this week I want to tell you about another really nice waterside destination in Germany. It's another lake, and it's one that I have had multiple experiences with. So that's a plus for this. I can give you some personal experiences that I've had. This week we're going to go to the Kosputtner Lake, which is located in the state of Saxony on the southern side of one of my favorite German cities, Leipzig.
Yeah, and you lived in Leipzig for a while. You studied there, I believe. I guess you got a lot of experience exploring there and finding a lot of interesting places to visit.
Yeah, Leipzig is an amazing town. It's got a little bit of everything. This includes having fun in and around the water.
But you do realize, right, Rob, that it's getting close to wintertime.
Yeah.
And why are you telling us about this watery destination now? Isn't it going to be freezing?
Well, yes, it is going to be quite cold, and it is pretty popular in the summer, but it doesn't stop being popular just because it gets cold out. There's tons of people there, whether it's summer or wintertime, and it's a great place to go no matter what season it is.
Okay, so what's so great about this particular body of water of all of them that are in Germany?
Okay, well, if you're thinking about taking a vacation in Germany, this might not be one of the major landmarks that you just have to check out, like compared to the Brandenburg Gate or something like that. But if you are planning on doing some traveling around Leipzig and you have some time, you want to experience some nature in this fantastic city, then I would definitely think that you should check out the Kosputtner See, or lake. You can easily get there by either car, tram, or bike, and bike is the way that I usually got there. Because the route itself, it maybe takes from the city center, maybe a half an hour or so biking. and you get to go through a lot of parkland. You go past Folkelberg. It's a huge hill, and you can take a little bit of time just to cycle or walk up to the top of the hill. You can have a great view of the city, and then you go through even more forested area where there's a bunch of hikers and joggers. And in this area, you can also see there's a wild pigs is what I always liked going by. You see wild pigs in the forest, and you'll then be dumped out right on the edge of this huge lake. It's a pretty monster of a lake. It's right outside the city of Leipzig, and it's over 4 kilometers in length and about 2 kilometers in width. And you will see boats floating or sailing by all year round. And what I think is really cool about this mega lake is that it wasn't even there 20 years ago.
It wasn't there 20 years ago? Did it just magic itself up? Did it rain a lot one day and a puddle turned into a lake? What happened?
It's a man-made lake, and it is pretty new. During the GDR, it was a strip mining operation, so it was just a huge, massive hole in the ground. But then after the reunification, it eventually turned into the lake it has become today. I think it officially opened in the year 2000.
So what does the lake offer visitors? I mean, there's water, and you can swim in the freezing cold, watery bits.
Well, like a lot of the lakes, there's walking and cycling paths all around the edge, and it's beautiful scenery. Like all year round during the summer, it's hot and there's a lot of people there, and during the fall and the spring, the nature's beautiful, and during the summer you get that crisp air right on the water. There's a bunch of beaches there, and one of my favorites was called the Dog Beach. Not because that there's any kind of dogs there. It's not like the place for dogs to hang out on the beach, but it's just like the hip beach where a lot of people go and just have fun together. You can meet up with people you've never met before. They're maybe barbecuing or something, and just hang out with a new group. There's also a number of little kiosks going around the lake, and so you can pick up drinks and snacks and just hang out on their deck chairs. And there's a couple of piers that go out on the lake, which are also nice to go out on. And like I was saying a little earlier, you can have grill outs. They have some monster playgrounds, so it's a great place to take kids. Or if you're an adult and just like to play on the playgrounds, you can do that too.
You're a bit creepy.
And you can rent boats like paddle boats or canoes, and you can even go fishing at this lake.
So you mentioned the canoes. Is this the type of place where you get the kind of action sports and sailing and jet skis, this kind of thing, or is it more the chilled out kind of lake?
It's more of a chilled out type of lake. I don't think I've ever seen anyone doing water skiing there, but I don't know if it's against the rules or anything. They do have a marina where you can. There's all sorts of boats. Most of them seem to be kind of more like sailboats, though. Well, there are also people renting out the paddle boats and canoes there.
Okay, nice. So it's all just this kind of loads of nature in the middle of nowhere that kind of just appeared there 20 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much, but they did make a small town right on the east side of the lake, and they have hotels like bed and breakfasts, and they have restaurants, and that is where the marina is. There's also a bunch of little boutique type of stores, so visitors can go in and check out some knickknacks and things like that they have there, and maybe get a souvenir.
Time to invest in lakeside construction, everyone. It's going to get popular. Prices going up. So you said you've been there a few times. Maybe you could tell us about your most amazing, romantic, beautiful, exciting, erotic experience at the Kostbundener See.
Well, I have gone there a lot with my partner, as well as going there with roommates and things like that. And most of the time during the late spring, summer months to cool off, because the water is great and it's so hot. There's no air conditioning, that type of stuff. But I think one of my personal favorite experiences is when I went there in the fall. It was kind of like late fall, about this time of year. It's starting to get cooler out, and I went there with one of my classmates, and it's still a great friend of mine. We biked there and had the great scenic ride that I was telling you about, and then we went around the entire lake. We bought a few drinks. We headed out on a rowboat just to hang out and talk, so we could lay back on the boat, just kind of looking up, relaxing, having a beer or so, and you could feel just like it was just very relaxing. You could feel the waves as you're just sitting back on the boat. And then that evening, we went to one of the beaches, the Dog Beach, and we set up a barbecue with some meat that we had brought in our packs, and we met some people, and we were just there long into the evening. It was very memorable.
Okay, and you mentioned air conditioning, and having a place to cool off is very important. And I know that if you could get air conditioning in every home and office in Germany, you'd sell both of your children, and you love your children very much. So it's a good place to cool off in the summer months.
It might be worth it. I would considering selling a child for air conditioning.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can make a deal later on. So it sounds like a great day out kind of location, and a great reason for you to look into visiting Leipzig's Kospudener See if you're into the kind of nature, kind of chilled out kind of place. If you want to see what this place looks like, remember you can find some photos on our website, thisweekingermany.de. So, of course, we like to bring you some amazing locations in Germany every week, and someone else who wants to encourage you to visit Germany is our German of the Week. In this section, our German of the Week section, we put a spotlight on a prominent person from this week's news, a German citizen, or even a foreigner who we deem an honorary German, who's had an effect, for better or worse, on German culture, society, or politics.
Our German of the Week this episode is Sir Sebastian Wood, who wants to give people from Great Britain a better understanding of Germany, as well as having more Brits make the trip over here to see the country for themselves. Wood does not actually technically work in Germany. He works at the British Embassy building in Berlin and has just been appointed to be the new British ambassador. He's coming here after having a similar position in Beijing. He knows he has a lot of important work ahead of him. He'll be dealing almost daily with foreign policy issues between the two different countries and other cross-nation duties. But his biggest job will be working with Angela Merkel and the German government to see what can be done about keeping Britain in the European Union. He says that he hopes he can accomplish such goals as bringing more young people over from Great Britain to Germany so that the two countries can have better insights about each other.
And that German of the Week, Sir Sebastian Wood, brings us to the end of episode 92.
And besides all our great content, you can also find our social media links like Twitter and Facebook, stuff like that on our website, and you can find ways to support us. Any sort of donations or just liking us, sharing us on iTunes, or rating us on iTunes is really great. So you can find all that stuff on our website. We highly encourage you to go there. We think you'll like it.
That's thisweekingermany.de. Yes, we very much appreciate it when you spread the word about our podcast. This Week in Germany is produced by Daniel Winter and is written by myself and Rob Bishop.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back in 7 days with more This Week in Germany.